It's wonderful that you chose digitalization as your main topic to talk about today, but I want to take that discussion a little bit further, and that's what I call the never normal. I wrote this book, The New Normal, exactly 10 years ago, and it's a term that I really don't like anymore. But 10 years ago, I talked about what would happen in a world where technology, digital, would stop being special and just become normal. And some of you are old enough to remember the old days. I love this advertisement from 1980, advertising a 10 megabyte hard disk for $3,495. But what we've seen is that since that time, and certainly in the last decade, technology and digital has become absolutely normal. I love this example. In 2016, everybody wanted to take a selfie with Hillary Clinton, but actually what we saw is last year in 2020, the Democratic Convention was a digital-only event. We've seen a transition where technology has clearly become the new normal. And I think I love this example. About 2 years ago, I had a chance to go to a sleepy Italian town over summer, and an artist had actually painted the logos of today onto the artifacts of the past. And there you saw how quickly technology was reshaping society, how it was rethinking communities, and I love this, two old ladies chatting under a Twitter sign. But one thing is clear, technology and digital is now absolutely normal. And I honestly think that if you look at the next decade, as the minister just talked about, I think we're going to see more disruption than actually in the last. I don't get scared about this, I get excited about this. But I do believe that, in my opinion, the next decade is going to be a series of what I call seismic shocks. Some of them will still be technological in nature. It's not because digital is normal that it's done. If you look at the cocktail of new technologies, I mean, look at augmented reality, the real power of analytics, the real power of intelligence, and massive automation. That is a powerful cocktail that will accelerate even more technological seismic shocks. If you're going to look back at the last decade, you think, what a fuss we made about digital. If you see what is ahead of us, I think it's even more exciting. But that's not it. I don't think we have to just look at the technological seismic shocks. We're in the middle of a biological one that is far from over. But what I find fascinating is that, think about the environment, the big concern we had before COVID. Think about ecological seismic shocks. Two examples. This is Blade Runner 2049, one of my favorite movies. This is the orange sky. This is San Francisco just after last summer. Many of my friends who live there sent me pictures like this. But just recently, I thought a great example was the fact that we had Texas freezing over. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Texas, but freezing in Texas is an interesting combination. What we had is a complete collapse of the power grid, an enormous collapse economically, enormous damages personally. And what you saw is, I think we have to take this very seriously. And we also have to take very seriously the public concern about this. You all remember, the enormous discontent we had about us thinking about the environment. I think even that social discontent is something that we have to take extremely seriously and maybe even brace for social seismic shocks. In a global scale, we now have rising tensions between the US and China that is escalating, a trade war that has become a full-blown technological Cold War. So if you ask me, is the world getting orderly? No, it's getting more disorderly. And I said, we don't have to fear this, because every single one of those shocks is actually an opportunity, because they trigger things, they set things in motion. Look at, for example, consumer behavior. I mean, what we've already said is very clear. Consumers were radically changed by this. Digital has become the new normal, and we can now understand the consumer, analyze the consumer better than ever before. And then COVID came along and just accelerated the transformation of consumer behavior. Same thing, of course, for work dynamics. But more fundamentally, what I believe in the next decade is we're going to see enormous volatility when it comes to operating and business models, especially in the energy sector. We're going to see extreme volatility when it comes to capacity and resources necessary to implement our strategy. And probably, for many of us, quite a significant volatility when it comes to financial performance. So the challenges are quite real. But I believe that, being a perennial optimist, I think that if it took us 10 years for digital to become normal, well, I get excited about the next decade, because we're going to apply the concept of disruptions to agriculture, food, healthcare, and, yes, energy. And I believe that this set of challenges, if you want to reinvent yourself, is going to give you a tremendous opportunity to do so. But I've said it before, I think for this sector, it will be an awakenings moment. It will be actually figuring out that when people think about a utility today, they almost always associate a utility with a commodity. And I believe you have a chance to change that. If you want to change that relationship with your customer, not just digitize, but change it from a billing relationship to a meaningful relationship. This is a true red and blue pill moment for the industry. I think it is a true opportunity for an awakenings, and I think a tremendous opportunity for you to actually find out what that bird could actually be. I certainly didn't want to depress you about the never normal. I wanted to inspire you, but I'm sure that even some people out there get scared and terrified from all those fundamental changes that might be about to happen upon us. I am an absolute optimist, but I know one thing. If you really want to reinvent yourself in this sector, you have an opportunity. You can actually make it happen. But you will have to turn this all the way to 11. This is no time to wait. This is the absolute now. The future, as Mark said, is already here. But let me end with my favorite quote from Maya Angelou. If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how truly amazing you can be. I wish you the very best in the never normal. Thank you very much.